Grab the tape, that, this, that, yes. And these are the pins. There's three of them. Yes, I have one of these at home. So when we move this, so number one, number two, if we happen to have somebody, it'll be number three. We'll take that off.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Are you ready? Good morning, and let us settle into a spirit of worship with a moment of quiet to be followed by the music of Daybreak by Ola Yellow. You're also invited this time to light a silent candle of joy or sorrow, and those of you who have flowers to add for our flower communion are welcome to come forward and place them in either of the baskets in front.
Good morning, everyone. I guess I want to say first off, I'm Susan Crosley, not Linda Morse. So I will be reading the chalice lighting. So we light our chalice for fathers and for fatherhood by Peter Fredericks. For the sleepless nights awaiting the curfew breakers, for anxious hours as a driving instructor, for hours spent on sidelines cheering and watching school plays, sometimes resting our eyes, for the pressures of breadwinning and wait till your father gets home, for teaching moments and mentoring moments, for making up answers when you just don't know, but are expected to because you know everything, for scrapes and boo-boo kisses and Band-Aids, for hugs and kisses and silliness and play, for bedtime stories and early morning ice time, for all the aftershave and ties received as gifts, for handing over car keys and waves goodbye, for father-daughter wedding dances and cradling grandchildren for the first time, for all the moments and all the meaning in this role of a lifetime. We light our chalice for fathers and for fatherhood. Nice. So let us, oh, I think you did that. So good morning. Welcome to the, yes, good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, a congregation of love, hope, and justice. My name is Susan, and I am one of your worship assistants this morning. We begin by acknowledging that in Worcester, Massachusetts, we work, learn, live, and worship on the seized ancestral homeland of the Nipmuc people who survive and remain active as the Nipmuc Nation. We offer a special welcome to those of you who are new or visiting us for the first time this morning. We are delighted that you are here. We hope that you will join us in Fellowship Hall following the service for refreshments and conversation. If you have any questions or desire more information about this service or any of the ministries and programs of this congregation, please do not hesitate to ask. We invite you to fill out one of the cards found in pews. These cards can be placed in the offering plate or given to one of the ushers or greeters this morning. For those of you joining us online, we offer you a very special welcome for safety purposes and so that we might come to know you better. As you are able, please place your name on the video feed. Please take a moment to sign one of the attendance clipboards that are now being passed. Though you are not obligated to sign, we appreciate your information and will enter your information and will only use it for church purposes. During the service, we offer an opportunity to share a brief personal joy or sorrow. If you would like yours to be read aloud by the minister, please print it on the index card in the pew and drop it in the collection plate when it comes around. For those online, you can place a joy or concern in the chat box, and we will read and share it during this time of the service. In the foyer are listening devices and large print service programs and hymnals for those who may find their assistance beneficial. Please see one of our ushers who will be pleased to assist you. I invite you now to turn off your technology to not off, but to worship mode. And finally, please note the announcements on the back of your program. Hold up the order of service. The order of service. And there will be time for a short verbal announcement following the postlude. We are so glad that you are here and hope that this morning is an opportunity for rest and rejuvenation. Oh, and actually the main reason, of course, I'm up here is I want to put a plug in for our parish service pastoral care committee. We are now a measly 3 people. So I am really asking people to consider joining our little cadre of caring people. We send cards, telephone calls, visits. It's not a very demanding ask, but we need more people. And we're also in the process of developing a wider outer circle of people who would volunteer for memorials and sort of be taught and trained or whatever, just what happens with a memorial service. Memorial services are my favorite part. I just love making the, fellowship hall beautiful and welcoming and really honor the person that is being honored in our church. So if you don't want to be in the middle circle, and you can certainly volunteer for the outer circle. We would love new people, fresh energy, all that stuff. Okay, thank you. I know.
My friend Mike Johnson writes these words for our opening this morning. A little different. I don't want to invite you into a period of quiet meditation. You're welcome to close your eyes if you wish and get comfortable in your seat. Bring into your mind and heart a father figure you carry. Remember the gifts and the wounds you received from that person or persons. As feelings arise, breathe through them. Honor those feelings as a connection with your own heart. And now, I invite you to listen to some fathering words that we don't get to hear often enough. I love you just the way you are. I have confidence in you. You can achieve your goals. I will stand with you. You can depend on me. I delight in you. Stand up for yourself. Your opinions and feelings are important. I have faith in you. And as we come into this space again, breathing deeply and opening our eyes. Amen. And blessed be. Let us rise in body or in spirit and join together in our opening hymn found in your Teal hymnal supplement, number 1051, We Are. Each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and builders of nations, weavers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. Our mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Please be seated. I got this. Pull that mic over. Yeah. Pull that mic over. At this time, I'd like to invite all of those wishing to become members of this religious community to step forward and join us here on the chancel. Friends, we gather here this morning as an expression of our mutual quest toward personal and religious fulfillment. We gather secure in the knowledge that the truths we seek are not constrained by doctrine or dogma. We recognize that each of us is here for reasons known only to the individual heart. And yet we gather in common fellowship to affect and sustain an atmosphere of mutual support.
Here.
Mm-hmm.
Here we do not ask you to believe that which is espoused by another. We ask only that you follow faithfully what your conscience dictates, mindful that in your search you will encounter other truths, other convictions, other faiths. Here you will be embraced as a member of a common family of seekers, all those past and present who have dedicated themselves to the tasks of nurture, compassion, and action. All those who have been and are sympathetic to a common vision that no one person is an island unto themselves, and that we are all members of a larger family of life.
Would the congregation please rise in body or in spirit to join together in the congregational affirmation? We, the members and friends of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, welcome you to our church. We invite you to share our common concern for justice and righteousness and our belief that through common efforts we may better shape the meaning of our lives. We pledge to you our friendship and support as we strive to embody the common purposes that bring us here.
This morning, you have come forward of your own free will. Is it in the spirit of freedom, honoring your own religious values and respecting those who journey with you, that you wish to join this liberal religious community?
It is.
Then I invite you as a symbol of this commitment to add your name to our register and receive the gifts of fellowship offered here this morning. So just your name and the date. Just 18th, June 18th. Dawn Dowd.
Yes,
Welcome.
thank you.
You certainly can. Ladies and gentlemen, our newest member, please, once again, welcome her. Let's just move this back. Just move it back. Okay. I want to invite Sherry Lynn to join us at this time. Sherry wears many hats in this community, not the least of which is to be president of our Board of Management, but she is also executive director of the In the Hour of Need Family Shelter, also known as IHN, which has been a project that this congregation has a long history of supporting. And this morning, our 50/50 collection is in support of the continuing welfare of homeless families in our community served by IHN.
Hi. Let me change my hats here. So the mission of IHN is to work in partnership with members of religious congregations, volunteer groups, and individuals. In the Hour of Need Family Shelter promotes self-sufficiency by providing temporary shelter, supplies, and housing advocacy services to families with children who are experiencing homelessness regardless of income and family structure. By providing comprehensive assistance and loving support to the families who are homeless, IHN can act as a catalyst for change. But I don't think I need to tell you that. You guys rock at IHN. I couldn't do it without you. I really can't. Your volunteer hours, your giving, your donating, your being there, your loving is amazing. It's the very fundamental of a beloved community. And I don't need to tell you how much that rocks. You're great. What I really want to say to you today is thanks from the bottom of my heart for choosing to share your gifts however you give them time, talent, and treasure. And especially today, as we collect our 50/50 plate, 50% of your giving today will go to IHN to support our program needs and, keep the lights on, that kind of good stuff. You know how it goes. So today, as the offering is today, I guess we're going to start the collection. If you're giving to IHN and writing a check, please write 50/50 in the memo line. If you're just giving a check for your pledge, please write pledge on either the check or your envelope. And if you are texting to give, I keep losing this number, you can text to give, I lost it again, at 508-231-5335. Our morning offering will now be collected.
We come to that time in our service when we're given pause to consider what is deepest in our hearts or most profoundly on our minds, or in the work of our hands in the days that have transpired, or in the prospect of days to come. Joys and sorrows which touch us deeply and are given another measure of meaning because of our capacity to share them in the midst of a company that claims us as a co-journeyer. So I invite those of you who have joys or sorrows this day to come forward and form lines on either side of the sanctuary. Come and speak briefly into the microphone, telling us first who you are, so that those using our auditory enhancement devices or joining us online can also participate in this important ritual. And then to light a candle if you so desire. If you're online this morning and you would like to have a joy or sorrow shared, please do put it in the chat preceded by the words, "Please read," so that we can find it quickly. And we will also include those during this time. Are there joys or sorrows to be shared this day?
Good morning, I'm Kim. It's been a very challenging year, but I have a couple of joys. I have one more day of school left. Very excited about that. Also, I went out last night with my castmates from Oliver, the show that I'm performing in next weekend, and we went out and did karaoke, which I haven't done in like 20 years, and we just had an absolute blast. No alcohol, we had a couple of teens with us, and we just sang and sang and sang, and we're cheered by the other people there, and we cheered everybody, and it was just such a joyous occasion, and I'm hoping to do a lot more of those kind of joyous occasions.
Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Mara Pentlarch. My husband died 6 months ago, and I've been slogging through doing the grief work. I feel like I'm pretty much on top of that, but I got caught by surprise. I was going through the old photos on my computer because it says I got too much. So I thought I'd take out, the multiples. I took a lot of pictures of my house, of how the sun would come in and shine through the balusters on the banister at a certain time of day. I'm gonna miss that house.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sue. I just wanted to ask for healing thoughts for a very, very dear friend of mine who was having back problems, and prior to that has been fighting breast cancer, and was winning until this week when she found out that it's spread to various locations and part of her inner bones. And so there's a group of us women that are going to be holding on to each other and lifting everybody up, and her, and we'll get through this together. She's going to go through chemo. And so I'm looking for healing thoughts. I did light a candle for her, so thanks.
Are there any joys or sorrows online? Okay.
Corey Prashniak has a joy to share. My dad / Debbie's husband seems to have had a successful back surgery. The recovery is tough, but we're hoping he'll be home from the hospital tonight.
Excellent. Thank you, Corey. Let us be in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, we come today to celebrate those who have nurtured us into the fullness of our being, by blood or by choice, examples of what it means not only to survive but thrive in the way of our own living. Help us be mindful of the gift of that care. We also acknowledge that for many days like this are days of mourning, for the loss of loved ones, for the possibility that never became, for a history that's hard to remember, and for the courage to carry on. Help us know that we are not alone in our journey, but that we are full of opportunities for gladness and to grapple with grief. Let us understand that we are not alone, and help us be grateful for the communities that surround and sustain us, and the people who have parented us and loved us dearly. Amen. And blessed be.
The text to the song we're about to sing was written by Rudyard Kipling, and I read it for you now. The Seal Lullaby. Oh, hush thee, my baby, thy night is behind us, and black are the waters that sparkled so green. The moon o'er the combers looks downward to find us, at rest in the hollows that wrestle between. Where billow meets billow, there soft be thy pillow. Ah, weary, wee flippering, curl at thy ease, the storm shall not wake thee, nor shark overtake thee, asleep in the arms of the slow swinging sea.
There are some pieces of music that give you the real sense that you are in an environment where waves are coming over you and around you and holding you. And what came into my mind as I listened once again to the Seal Mother's song were the words of Philip Booth in his poem, First Lesson, an apt one for Father's Day. Lie back, daughter, that your head be tipped back into the cup of my hand. Gently, and I will hold you. Spread your arms wide, lie out on the stream and look high at the gulls. The dead man's float is face down. You will dive and swim soon enough where this tide water ebbs by the sea. Daughter, believe me when you tire on the long thrash to your island, lie up and survive. As you float now where I held you and let go, remember when fear cramps your heart what I told you. Lie gently and wide to the light year stars. Lie back, and the sea will hold you. As parenting goes, that was actually the first lesson for my children. When they entered the water, the very first thing that I taught them to do was how to flip onto their back and float. The very first lesson that I gave them was, if at all possible, never panic. Float. Take a breath. Trust your body. Fill your lungs with air and remind yourself that you are capable. It's an easy thing to say to young children, not so easy to necessarily say again when they are teenagers and young adults, where they are likely to turn to you and roll their eyes and sigh heavily and walk away. But it is worth remembering, and I think it is a lesson that will come back, as there are so many in my life that I now take deeply into my heart that at one point probably took for granted that my parents represented to me. So this poem also is about letting go. It's not only about teaching someone how to float, but it is actually learning to allow them to float and giving them a sense that they are capable of doing that. The poem ends with the head no longer cupped in the hands, but the child floating in the tide pool. It's not an easy thing to let go. And yet, I would argue that the moment that a child comes into the world, we are profoundly moving toward letting go with each moment. And that there are critical times when that surfaces in us, and we try to remind ourselves that that is in fact our purpose. Learning to let go as birthdays come and anniversaries and graduations and rites of passage. So on this Father's Day, I want to speak to this learning to let go as something that I continue to meditate on as my children continue into young adulthood. And so many here continue to strive and thrive in the ways of their own choosing, whether we like it or not. I'm informed this morning by two articles. One by a brother and colleague, Tim Deal, a blogger out of central Pennsylvania, who writes about 5 things that dads of teens need to let go of. He talks about ego, which he uses instead of the word pride for a variety of reasons. I remember Joan Webster saying she didn't like the word pride. Pride was all about me being proud about someone else instead of taking joy in what that other person was doing. And I understand that. So the idea for Tim Deal is that we have to let go of our need to be pleased and instead dwell deeply in that which is pleasing to our children. Judgment is the other thing. I find that to be curious, especially it is for me the thing that is most challenging in learning to let go as children get older, because we have an eye for things that we think might be dangerous. And before we know it, we're judging all kinds of things. We're judging other people's behaviors. We're judging our child's choices. We're judging the environments that they're inhabiting. We're judging the opportunities that they have. All kinds of judgments come in. And what Pastor Deal is talking about is the ability to let go of judging in order to be able to witness to something much larger, which is that our children may in fact know things we don't know. And that sometimes our view of what's going on could be wrong. I know it's hard. It's hard to get to, right? But I'm reminded every day by my 20-something children that I don't know everything. And they do. No, they don't. But so Deal writes, the problem is that you rarely know which of your opinions are right and which are wrong because you won't hold on to them because you wouldn't hold on to them if you knew they were wrong. This means you're going to need to work on letting go of judgment for your teen and your teen's friends and that entire generation. It doesn't mean, however, that you can't say something is wrong. And I think that's equally important, the ability to be able to represent one's own conscience. But more to the point, to encourage our children to be able to actualize that in themselves. One of the things that I said about my firstborn when she came into the world is that I am not going to parent the no out of my daughter, because I want children in general and young girls in particular to understand the power of the word no. And I want them to be able to say it with clarity, and I want them to be able to mean it in a way that means they'll be respected. And so I think being able to talk with our children about things that we think are wrong is important. He also talks about letting go of our dreams. This is harder, because any of us who have nurtured children have dreams for them. Not talking here about necessarily biological parenting. Many of you have been teachers who have come to know your students in ways that have given you a sense of the possibility of what they might become, and that sets in. But more to the point about parenting is learning to have the kind of conversation that awakens in them their own dreams. I'm mindful here of the words of Jalaluddin Rumi in his poem that we often use when we're dedicating children here. Your children are not your children. They're the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for life goes not backward nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with all of its might, and its arrows may go swift and far. Let the bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as the archer loves the arrow that flies, so too does the archer love the bow that is stable. Deal continues that letting go of dreams, and then he moves on to control. I love this because this takes me into the second article that kind of piqued my fancy this week. Forbes magazine runs an article on June 12th about the next iteration of overparenting, as far as I'm concerned, right? And now, because of the movement toward working from home, we have parents that are beginning to intervene in their children's work life, like sitting off camera during a Zoom interview and coaching them to say certain things during the interview. Or I love this, and he's quoting the Wall Street Journal here, says it runs the gamut from acting like Cyrano de Bergerac, whispering what to say in a Zoom interview, or arguing with a manager because the treatment of their adult child in the workplace, or weighing in on job offers and salary negotiations for their professional offspring. Yowzer. Now, I'm saying this because I have one 24-year-old child that now works pretty much from home. And on occasion, I show up in her workspace, but usually it is in the form of an arm that is extended through the doorway with a medium iced mocha latte with whipped cream and a Boston cream donut that maybe shows up on the screen for a few seconds until it is whisked away from my daughter and I leave. I can't imagine what it would be like for me to walk in and insert myself into a conversation with one of her bosses. First of all, my daughter would immediately move out. Secondly, I think this is an important thing for our young adult children to do. If you're going to work from home, work at something your parents know nothing about, right? Work well beyond their knowledge capacity, right? And share little about what it is that you do in order to be able to protect yourself under the circumstances. Which is to say, we need to allow our children the opportunity to both succeed and fail, and to be comfortable with silence. Because that's often what you get in response to how are things going when you're asking 20-somethings about their lives. And I've thought about that for a while. I think sometimes it means that they're not certain themselves, and that's okay. Or frankly, they don't want to be bothered with their parents worrying about something that's going on in their existence, and so they hold it close to the breast. Or maybe it is just simply that they will let you know when they want you to know. It's learning how to let go of the need to know that is the hardest part of parenting young adults. But in the process, we give them some gifts. Here are the gifts that I hope that we give our children as they grow into adulthood. For me, with both of my children, when it came to college, I took a route that I did not see lots of parents taking. I saw lots of parents micromanaging the college process. I told both of my children, go find a school you love and go find something in that school you will love to do. Not for the rest of your life necessarily, but fall in love with something that piques your interest, gives you joy, and challenges you. And then we'll find a way of paying for it. They both did that. Neither of them had chosen ministry. One is now working on drug utilization research for a company in Boston. The other is learning how to deal with construction technology. but they are both doing things that they enjoy. That to me is far better than who's going to receive my library as an inheritance. The second thing I want my children to do and to understand, and I hope that all children will learn to understand, is that to have the courage and the fortitude to fail. This was the hardest lesson for my children, because we've grown up into an era where if you don't get it right the first time, many people just drop it. Or if you do get it right the first time, the answer is, you are just extraordinary. And for my children, it was, aren't I good, Daddy? And I would say, you've done well. Good takes a while. It takes practice. It takes commitment. And if you want to do that, that's great. And I love you for doing all that you do and being who you are, more importantly. The other is to be more curious than judgmental. I think half the problem that we have in our world today is that we assume so much about each other and that we react to each other instead of responding to and being curious about why someone is being the way they are. So before we jump to conclusions and before we react in anger or in frustration to someone, perhaps we ought to take a breath and put ourselves in their shoes and ask them, what's going on? Invite them into relationship, into conversation. The other is to practice humility in times of success and recognize that none of us succeeds on our own. Our successes are as much a product of our relationships with others and the kinds of support that we get from people in our community and our family, and that we ought to be grateful for that as much as for the opportunity that has seen success. Serve something larger than yourselves. Recognize that you are a part of something much greater and offer yourself to the thriving of that greater environment, community, world, universe. Exude compassion, especially in the face of violence and trauma. Learn to companion people where they are, not where you want them to be. Forgive yourself and choose what guides you. That's a little different than some other traditions might have it, which is to forgive others. But I am worried that in this world we confuse forgiveness with absolution. And what I would rather have is children understand that they're capable of choosing those things that will, in fact, inform them and guide them ultimately. And that they can let go of those things that have harmed them in ways that allow themselves to thrive. Love is the other thing, by which I mean the willingness to grow in how you learn to appreciate others and yourself and all that sustains you. As a minister, I am suspicious of people who come in front of me and want to marry, not because of that fact alone, although I have asked them point blank, why do you want to do this? I think they hear something in my voice. But what I really mean and what I want to know is what's behind your desire to do this. And when a very young couple turns to me and say, we want to marry because I love him and I love her, and I'm like, well, that might get you through the first 3 weeks. Tell me what sustains you. Those who have a little more experience will come in front of me and they will say, I love this person in spite of what I know about them. In other words, I'm willing to concede that they're not everything I want them to be, and yet we will still grow together. I think that those folks have potential for a long relationship. And I want our children to understand the distinction between being happy, right, and having the opportunity to grow with someone, which does not always involve happiness, but does involve commitment. And lastly, I want my children and your children and our children to know that they are a good gift and that they ought to treat themselves and others with that awareness, that they deserve to be treated with respect and kindness, and they too have the capacity to do the same. Learning to let go is the art of recognizing that we have things to represent and offer our children, but we cannot control them. We must allow them to make their choices, and we must accompany them through both the triumph and the tribulation. And I'm painfully aware that there are those of you who are sitting here today, some of you who have lost children, for whom this particular kind of meditation brings up all kinds of challenging memories and thoughts. But hear me. You gifted us with something that is and continues to be precious. And as your community, we hold you in the memory of that child as something to be honored and remembered in ways that we may not even yet conceive. But you are not alone. And your letting go is something that each of us worries most about. So you are to us an example of what it means to thrive beyond our greatest fears. And for this, we are forever thankful. Amen. And blessed be. Would you turn to your flower communion insert? This is the 100th anniversary year of the flower communion, which is a particular rite within the Unitarian tradition that comes to us out of our Czechoslovakian family. It was a service that originated in 1923 when Dr. Norbert Kapek, founder of the Unitarian movement in Czechoslovakia, on the last Sunday before summer recess in the Unitarian Church in Prague, asked all the children and adults to participate in a colorful ritual which give concrete expression to the humanity-affirming principles of their liberal faith. When the Nazis took control of Prague in 1940, they found Dr. Kapek's gospel of the inherent worth and beauty of every human person to be, as Nazi records record, too dangerous to the Reich for him to be allowed to live. Dr. Kapek was sent to Dachau, where he was killed the next year. This gentle man suffered, but his message of human hope and decency lives on through this particular rite, which is widely celebrated today. It is notable and meaning-filled because it has such a lengthy history. This service includes the original prayers of Dr. Kapek to help us remember the principles and dreams for which he lived and for which he died. Let us recite together the litany of communion. In the name of the providence which implants in the heart of the seed the future of the flower, and which implants in our hearts that unrest which will not be quenched till people live lovingly with each other, we bless these flowers. In the name of the prophets and sages who sacrificed their lives to hasten the coming of the reign of mutual respect, we bless these flowers. May these flowers be for us a sign of the glory and variety to which they aspire. Knowing the whole while that we are one family, the family of spirit and nature. Amen. Blessed be. Whenever Dr. Kapek conducted these flower communions in Prague, he would say this proverb as he consecrated the flowers. Let us be in the spirit of prayer. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of the most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in this world. It is now time for us to share our communion. As the flowers are passed, I ask that each of you in turn approach the basket quietly, reverently, with a sense of how important it is for each of us to address our world and one another with gentleness, justice, and love. I ask that you select a flower different from the one you may have brought that particularly appeals to you. As soon as you take up your chosen flower, noting its particular shape and beauty, please remember to handle it carefully. It is a gift that someone else has brought to you. It represents that person's unique humanity and therefore deserves your kindest touch. Let us share quietly in this Unitarian Universalist ritual of oneness and love. Would you please rise in body or in spirit and join together in our closing hymn this morning, number 64. Oh, give us pleasure in the flowers today. Oh, give us pleasure in the flowers today, and give us not to think so far away as the uncertain harvest keep us here, all simply in the springing of the year. Oh, give us pleasure in the orchard white, like nothing else by daylight grows by night, and take us happy in the happy bees, the swarm delinking round the perfect trees, and make us happy in the darting bird that suddenly above the bees is heard, the meteor that thrusts in with needle will, and off a blossom in midair stands still. For this is love, and nothing else is love, the which it is reserved for God above, to sanctify to what for ends He will, but which it only needs that we fulfill. We conclude our service today with the words of Carol Allman Morton. On Father's Day, we honor those people who have been teachers, confidants, and friends. We acknowledge that it is not biology that makes a parent, but love and attention. For those of us who have lost a father or a child, we hold their memories in our hearts. For those of us who are fathers, we ask for continued help in discerning how best to care for our children. Whether they are 5 or 50 years old, may the strands of relationship between ourselves and all of creation grow stronger. May all of us, no matter what our place in the cycle of life, experience, nurture, and love. And may we pass on that love to those we encounter on our own paths. So may it be. Amen. Once again, beloved, worship in this place has come to an end, but our service continues next with an opportunity for refreshment and conversation. Next Sunday service will happen in the lounge. It will be the first of our summer services, which will be a live streaming of the service from our General Assembly in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I hope you will join us at 10 next week here. Have a wonderful and wondrous week.